All right, so I wanted to just do this last video real quick so that you guys can modify your expectations for this class so you know what's coming down the pipe. Whenever you're creating anything in this class, a hard rule that I have that you're going to draw from chapter 3 is I don't want templates. Do not create a template. Do not use a template to create your stuff. Usually we'll be able to tell. All right. The reason being, if you use a template, it usually looks the same as 5 other templates that came before you, right? So if you're creating a resume in your job application packet and use a resume template from Microsoft Word, chances are I'll spot it. All right. There are things that that templates do incredibly badly. For instance, if you're using a resume template, your resume is going to look the same as 5 other resumes that somebody hands in if you use templates. It's not great for individuality. All right, templates could be used well for branding, right? So in my field, what I have used templates for in the past are university identity standards, right? It's hard to make sure that the colors match specifically with the UW Stout brand. And so when I create a document that's supposed to go out into the world, sometimes I will use a template of that document that is created by the university because it helps with identity standards. It helps with the ethos, okay? So that's the main reason why I would use a template, the only reason why I would use a template usually. Generally speaking, don't use a template in this class. I want you practicing your own skills, your own document design skills. I want you thinking about these things, and I don't want you to rely on what some engineer did at Microsoft a couple years ago, okay? So when you think about your documents for this class, do not use templates. If you think that you want to use a template, I would encourage you to try something else first. If you still think a template's the way to go, then you can reach out to me and we'll have a conversation, okay? Make sure that all of your documents are grammatically clean. Grammatically clean means no typos, no spelling errors. Make sure that things are revised and edited well so that way you aren't distracting us with unnecessarily messy text, right? You want to make sure that it's clean, concise, and it's up to the standards that are set by a professional employer. When you start thinking about these projects, these are the 4 main projects that you're going to be dedicating your time to. And I want you thinking about this rhetorical triangle. I want you thinking about the audience. I want you thinking about the format of that text. And I want you thinking about your credibility. There we go. Sorry. I had a hiccup there in my brain. But audience, format, and credibility, those are the things that you want to think about. So when you think about the job application packet, you could be handing those in PDF format, right? Or Word if you want to. It is going to be for employers or potential employers, right? And you need to think about what would make me credible, okay? A clean document, well-designed, headings, content. What content is going to make you most credible as a prospective employee? All right. Those are the questions that you're going to think about as you are designing these documents. As you design your grant proposal, I believe I'm going to require that to be handed in as kind of like a, something else that's not necessarily affiliated with this university, but you're going to be writing it as though you're writing for that audience, okay? When you're writing a grant proposal, especially a mock grant proposal, it's really important to focus on who that audience is. For the purposes of this project, I'm going to leave that as an internal audience. So UW Stout Research Services. All right, they're the ones that have the money. They're the ones you're going to write your proposal for. That's the audience I want you to have in mind. You're going to use some of their documentation from their website, from their resources, and you're going to tailor that content specifically for them. But you're going to add some additional content too, so that you can see how this would translate into maybe a proposal that you might write outside of the university at some point. So that's your audience here. When you start thinking about your audience here for the field research project, it could be linked. It could be linked. If you wanted to write a grant proposal and then, for a grant proposal for a research project, and then you decide that you want to take that research project to the end, to the logical conclusion, you could create a grant proposal, actually go out there and apply for that funding, and then you could create the research and publish it or present it or do something else, right? If you wanted to do that, go for it. However, some of us have different time constraints. Some of us might not be able to have access to the labs on campus. Maybe you're in an internship and that's why you're taking this class online. And you won't be able to have that freedom. That's fine. I'll have some other options for you that you can think about just for this class. But in any case, who's your audience? Is it an internal audience? Is it an external audience? Is it an employer? Is it the school that you go to? Is it just me, the professor? I don't know. You're always going to start thinking about who is the audience, what is the format that it's going to take, and how do I emphasize my credibility in these fields, okay? Same thing goes with the manual handbook. You can do this project if, for instance, we just got a new printer in the Department of English and Philosophy. What I could do for this project is do a reference guide. For the department. Go to the department printer. Find out how to print, how to scan. Write instructions that will help people use the new printer. How to switch it from black to color printing, right? Because if you accidentally print in color, you're going to get charged money from the university, right? They're going to charge you more money to print in color than they will to print in black and white. And for departments, that could be a big issue, okay? But say you're creating your manual handbook for this class and you're like, I don't have an idea. Just look around you. It doesn't have to be overly complex. These are very simple projects. The manual handbook, you're creating instructions that are going to help the department members utilize the printer, the new printer more effectively, utilize the new copier more effectively. What format is it going to take? Is it going to be an electronic format, online? Is it going to be something, a PDF that you can put on your desktop? Or do you want this to be a print document that you're going to put next to the printer? You're going to hand it in the same way regardless, but you're going to tell me what the resource is. So how are you going to use it? What's the best way to use this resource to make it accessible to the audience that you need? Does that make sense? So, writing professional documents in this class, no templates. Make sure they're grammatically clean. And constantly think about that rhetorical context. Who am I talking to? Pathos. What am I creating for them that's going to be the most accessible and most functional and most effective? And then what can I do to make myself credible, to make my organization I'm writing on the behalf of credible, right? Do I use the identity standards if I'm creating a manual or a text or a manual or a handbook or a reference guide for a department on campus? Maybe you do. If you make that decision, why did you make that decision? If not, why not? Those are the things that you're going to start to think about when you start moving forward from this class. So what you need to get from Chapter 3 as it relates to this class, that's basically it, okay? As we move forward, we're going to constantly refer back to the rhetorical situation. We're going to refer back to these projects and the audience that you're dealing with, the text that you're creating. But that's what I want you to think about while we're moving forward with Chapter 3. How does this rhetorical situation impact the projects that we're working on? And then how do I create an effective professional document? The two big things I have, no templates, make sure it's clean. Other than that, I'll see you online. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the general inquiry forum or email me directly if you have a specific inquiry. Otherwise, happy writing.